Hey guys, EC Network here, coming at you with another video. Back in 2021, when Total Drama Island was announced to be returning with an additional 2 seasons, I was so excited at the prospect of seeing more from this franchise. Total Drama was a fantastic property that was introduced all the way back in 2007 on Cartoon Network, and I just felt like returning to this world was a no-brainer because obviously it's a reality TV show that takes the form of being an animated series. So you could just have countless seasons after seasons introducing new cast of characters with new challenges that they have to go through. Now we fast forward, and now that the first season of the show is coming to an end on Cartoon Network, I've been pretty vocal about my criticisms for this series. It just doesn't feel the same to me as the old Total Drama Island. The characters just fall flat in a lot of cases in my opinion, and as the season has gone on, slight spoilers ahead by the way, so you've been warned. As the season has gone on, while some of the characters have become a bit more interesting, such as Bowie or Julia, it's just too late at this point in my opinion. At the time of this recording, we're up to the final 4 of the show, and I feel like at this point in time, we should be very familiar with these characters, and we should have, certain characters we're rooting for, and maybe certain characters we aren't rooting for. Like at this point in the original run of the show, right? We all knew Heather was someone who we wanted to see get taken down. No one liked Heather, and at this point in the show, is there any real character that people don't like all that much? I mean, sure, you could argue Julia, maybe you could argue Bowie, but again, this show just doesn't have the same appeal to me as the original series. I'm not going to go any further than that talking about it because I really dove into this in another video. I'll leave a card above to it if you want to hear me go fully in depth on what I don't like about this series. But what I started to think of is, what could they have done instead of doing this revival that we got? What could the Total Drama franchise have dived into next instead of this show? And something that I'm honestly surprised they haven't attempted yet, and quite frankly, if they end up getting another opportunity at returning to this franchise, this is what I hope they do. I hope they have some sort of Total Drama Island reunion special season. And what I mean by this is bring back the original cast from the original run of this show, but have it take place maybe 10-15 years after the original series ended. We could see what all these characters are up to at this point in the timeline, because obviously they were all teenagers when they originally appeared on the original show, and I think this would create a very interesting dynamic right off the bat, because no matter how you slice it, the original cast of Total Drama Island is the most iconic cast that they've ever had in the series, and unfortunately, whether it's fair or not fair, I don't think they're ever going to reach that same level of mass appeal that they did with the original cast. So why not have them all come back to the island for a brand new season of the show that's taking place 10 to 15 years after the original series? You could say in universe that this is the 10-year anniversary special season of the show, and we see the original cast all return aged up. And I feel like not only will this create an interesting dynamic because number one, people are invested in these characters because these are the characters from the original show, but not only that, I feel like as well, it would create an interesting dynamic within the show itself because we get to see how these characters have changed, and obviously they have preconceived notions about each other. Like for example, Duncan and Courtney aren't exactly friends at the end of the time we see them in the Total Drama franchise. They're not exactly getting along well. Gwen and Lashana are not exactly friends with Heather. Obviously everyone dislikes Heather, so it'd be interesting to see how she's not only changed as a character over the past 10 to 15 years, but to see how the other characters view her because they know what she was like. They know what she put them through when they were on the original Island Action and World Tour. So I think that would be a fantastic way to continue the series. Plus which fact, at this point in the timeline, maybe some of the characters are married. Maybe some of the characters have kids. Maybe some of them are more responsible than they were before. Maybe some of them let fame get to their heads and they're an absolute mess at this point in the timeline. This is something that I think has so many possibilities, and it's a show that I would just love to see them make. I would love to see Cartoon Network greenlight a show like this. And if they were to make something like this, I think it would have to be on Adult Swim. I really feel like the Total Drama Island revival has been held back by the fact that it's supposed to be on Cartoon Network. I feel like that's a big reason this show isn't as good as it used to be, because the original Total Dramas, they always borderlined on being a show meant for young adults versus a show being meant for kids. They always had a bit more mature themes in them, and I feel like that's something that's missing from this new Total Drama Island revival, as well as the fact that all the characters seem to be buddy friends with each other. There's really no enemies within the series. Like one episode someone will dislike one character and then in the next episode they're best friends. So it's like, I think that all of those issues that I have with this revival series would go away if it was on Adult Swim. So if they ever decided to make a Total Drama Island reunion that I'm talking about, something where it's like 10 to 15 years in the future, maybe even 20 years in the future if you want, and we see the original cast return and we get to see what happened to everybody, I would hope that show would be on Adult Swim or even have it be exclusive to Max, because that that would be a series that would need to be for more mature audiences, and being on Cartoon Network would just hold the show back. For example, wouldn't it be something maybe if it's like 20 years in the future and we find out that Duncan's been in prison for so many years because he did something bad that got him thrown in jail? Or maybe Ezekiel's gone completely crazy, as we saw how he was in World Tour. Maybe he's gone to therapy at this point in time. Maybe he's a businessman or something because he got the help that he needed. I think this series has so many possibilities and so many different paths it can go down that I hope they do explore it at some point in the future. If I had to guess, is this something they will ever do? I don't know necessarily if they'll do something like 15-20 years in the future, like I'm saying, where they're all aged up, but I do think it's inevitable that this franchise does return to the original cast, and I feel like the best way they could handle that is to do something like I'm saying here, where they're all aged up and we get to see how they've changed over the past 15 or so years. I think that would be something fantastic to see. Anyways, let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about all this. Do you guys agree with me that this should have been the Total Drama Island revival that they did instead of what we got? We should have a Total Drama Island reunion special event instead of just another season of the show with some forgettable characters. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to see more content like this from DC Network. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.